Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Week 16 NFL Recap. So I'm Mason Speski, your host here with you today. We're going to recap 15 of the 16 games that occurred this week. The only one we will not recap is Bengals Steelers, which I already did that in my Steeler Game Day postgame. So make sure you tune into that one if you have not gotten the chance to already. But there were 15 games. A lot of them had important implications today. And a lot of them had consequences, some good, some good for some teams, some bad for others. We'll go over some of those today if it already happened. But if it didn't already happen, stay tuned for Thursday's NFL Week 17 predictions video where we will go over clinching scenarios and all that in more detail. So we'll talk about a lot. Definitely an interesting week. Football season definitely winding down for sure. First things first, I just want to say I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday. Hope you guys all got to celebrate with your family, friends, and loved ones. Got some nice gifts. But always, each and every day, we must remember what the true meaning of the Christmas season is, and that is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So just as long as we remember the true meaning for the season, we can celebrate it all we want. And ideally, we should try to make it Christmas every day. And I'm not saying get gifts and just take off work every day. I'm just saying be nice to people all around. So yeah, and there's definitely like parts of Christmas that I reminisce on throughout the year and all that. So that's definitely a good thing, that's for sure. Anyway, though, let's reminisce on some NFL Christmas week action. Sally, let's get right into it here. We're going to start a couple days before Christmas, the Christmas weekend, with the Rams defeating the Saints 30-22. I watched this Thursday night game more than I've watched any other Thursday night game. Thursday nights and all that, I'm typically busy with college work and all that, so can't really watch them, but I got to watch this one. Rams looked impressive. Puka Nacua was impressive. Hats off to him. This Rams team is good. I knew they were going to be a sleeper team. I didn't predict playoffs for them, but people were saying they were going to be bad. I knew for a fact they weren't going to be bad. McVay's too talented of a coach to let that LA Rams squad be bad. I knew for a fact that wouldn't happen, and it did happen. So, credit to McVay. I'm not a fan of his, but credit to him. He did a nice job with this team this year, and he's the reason why Puka and Cooper Kupp are so good. So, give him credit for sure. Wide receivers coach there. I think he's the next one from the McVay coaching tree that could become an OC here sometime in the foreseeable future, and possibly even head coach. So, credit to him as well. As for the Saints, it was a tough game for sure. You guys, for some reason, the Rams seem to have your number in these key playoff race implication games. It sucks to be a Saints fan sometimes, but hey, I mean, this roster right now, it's a lot like the Steelers and like a place like where it's like stuck in the middle right now. Like you guys have the experienced quarterback in Derek Carr, Olave, Kamara. It's a talented team. It needs work, and I really think they need to get better with drafting defense. I know I was a fan of Brian Brisset. Hopefully Brisset develops into the star I think he's going to be. So hope for the best for Brian Brisset. So yeah, hopefully things get better soon in the Big Easy. Now we're going to go to Saturday night. This was a little bit of a stunner because of how close it was. I originally, way back when the season started, thought the Chargers would win this game. However, this week I changed my prediction to the Bills. I'm lucky I did, but it was surprising because it was closer than I had expected it to be. The Bills did go to LA and beat the Chargers by a final score of 24-22 to pull away with the win. Buffalo, yeah, you guys struggled a little bit. I understand it's a West Coast flight. It's a Saturday night game and all that, so credit to them for getting the win. Chargers, I mean, it was obvious that the team did not like Brandon Staley for some rhyme or reason. I liked him and was sad to see them fire him a little bit. I knew it was coming, but it was a little sad. But because I think he's a good guy and all that, and he means well, and especially since he fought cancer and he's a cancer survivor. So definitely sad to see that happen. But it's a business and it is what it is. But I don't know why they didn't like him. I mean, yes, he did make some stupid decisions at times that I wouldn't have made. But yeah, look at the way they played this week. They played hard, and it was clear after that they didn't want Staley to be their head coach. I was reading, and I find this article kind of funny. I was reading an ESPN article that had mentioned about how Staley put up on the screen in the locker room on players' birthdays, happy birthday, and told them happy birthday, and he left out somebody's one time. And I'm going to try to pull up that article for you guys while I talk, but he supposedly forgot somebody, and then he made them sing happy birthday in front of everybody. It was something with birthdays. Here's the article. It's ESPN. I highly recommend you read it. It's called Why a Disconnected Chargers Team Was Brandon Staley's Downfall. It says the unraveling of the Chargers began in Jacksonville, Florida on January the 14th. That was the playoff loss from last year, if you remember. They were up 27-0, and then they blew it. So, yeah, it all fell apart for them, and they struggled. This line is particular, like a point of interest. It says, when Staley entered the locker room, facing a grieving team in disbelief, he told them in part, games like this happen in the NFL. The message annoyed some players, especially those who had played on other teams and experienced postseason success. To some, it felt like Staley was shifting ownership of the collapse off the squad and himself as a regular occurrence, team sources said. And there was a lack of accountability sometimes. Hang on, I'm just seeing this article. I'm trying to find the point about the birthdays where I was talking about. It talks about here Quentin Johnston, and I'm really disappointed with Quentin Johnston this year. This is another key point I wanted to say. I'm disappointed, too, with Quentin Johnston this year because he reminded me so much of Davante Adams in college. He was amazing at TCU. He had every resource possible to succeed. Kellen Moore, I feel like, failed him. And it says here, to wide receiver Quentin Johnston, Staley was the support system he needed in a tumultuous rookie season. Johnston, the Chargers' first-round pick, had his lowest moment of the season in Week 11 against the Packers. Johnston dropped a wide-open pass that would put the Chargers in field goal range with 23 seconds left in the game. Packers won 23-20. That sent the Chargers to 4-6. And Johnston was upset about it. And Staley had him in a press conference. It says, here's the birth, and I find this hilarious. Here's the birthday part. Staley alienated some players according to team sources. For a few, birthday announcements were a clear indication of where they stood. In a team meeting on November 16th, Staley projected birthday graphics for linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr., defensive tackle Gerard Clark, and guard Jordan McFadden on a video screen, but only said happy birthday to Murray in the meeting, according to a team source who was present. Sorry, I just find this funny, the fact that they project happy birthday up on a graphic board at an NFL team meeting. So I find that funny, to be honest. After practice 2 days later, Staley said happy birthday to offensive guard Zion Johnson in front of the team. Multiple players mentioned that it was also rookie linebacker Deion Henley's birthday, to which Staley replied, and Deion too, in a dismissive way before quickly wrapping up practice, according to team sources. Guys didn't feel included. He did make it feel like a team. He kind of made it feel like a fraternity house. Certain guys are in the frat, certain guys aren't. And this was it was by Chris Rim of ESPN on December 22nd. The article is called Why a Disconnected Chargers Team Was Brandon Staley's Downfall. I'm sorry about the laughing there. I just found that part to be hysterical. The fact that they're still doing birthday announcements. I mean, come on now. This Chargers team is dysfunctional. Dean Spanos better wise up and get this hire right. Credit to them for playing as hard as they did. So, yeah, there you go. Now on to Christmas Eve games. And there's a lot of interesting games, a lot of interesting implications on Christmas Eve that took place. We're going to start off in the Twin Cities, where the most important one of them took place, and that is the Detroit Lions, baby. Woo-woo! Clinching the NFC North title, downing the Minnesota Vikings at US Bank Stadium by a final score of 30-24. I watched almost the entirety of this game before I had to go to Christmas Eve Mass, which was awesome. Couple things. I mean, the Lions, good for them for winning this game. However, they do need to play better if they want to go far in the playoffs. I mean, it's a tough Vikings team for sure, but remember, they were down Hawkinson a lot. And they were also down Kirk Cousins the whole game, and they almost lost. So this Vikings team plays competitive. Totally wasn't surprised. I mean, I actually picked the Vikings to win, so I wasn't surprised that it was close. But Detroit's got to step up, and that's all I have to say about that. As for these Minnesota Vikings, they still have hope, but they're going to need a lot of help to get in the playoffs. Like, a lot. And it's probably not going to happen, so sorry for the Vikings. Now on to the Peach State, Atlanta in Georgia, with the Atlanta Falcons defeating the Indianapolis Colts 29-10 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This was a crusher for the Colts. They're now struggling in the wild card race. They're still the 7th seed, but this win would have given them like a little extra cushion over Houston, Pittsburgh, Cincy, and other teams as well. But they failed to do that. They failed to get that extra cushion, and now they're suffering the consequences as they go into back home to Indy for a 2-game stretch that will determine their season and whether or not they could get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2021. They need to be better against teams like this. That's all I want to say. They need to be better against teams like this, for sure. As for these Atlanta Falcons, I mean, they stepped up at the right time. With Tampa Bay's strong surge, it might be a little too late. However, there's a chance that they can still get in with the division and all that. It's going to be tough. I just want to say that. It's going to be tough. But credit to Atlanta for sticking together and playing a good Colts team very well. So, yeah, give them credit. This one surprised me a little bit. The Seahawks went down into Tennessee and beat the Titans 20-17. Seahawks typically don't win in Tennessee, so that's why it surprised me a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, good win for the Seahawks for sure. They now control their own destiny to the playoffs. Pittsburgh at home next week, and then they go to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Certainly not an easy schedule, but certainly not the toughest schedule in the world either. So Seattle should definitely go to the playoffs, that's for sure. This was probably their toughest test left to date, but so credit to Seattle for getting the job done. As for the Tennessee Titans, it's hard with all the constant losing, but you guys are competitive, and if you give Will Levis time and work, he could definitely turn this team into a contender again very soon. So that's all I want to say about that game. This game here was a little crazy. Actually, these next two we're going to talk about were both a little crazy here. Jets defeating the Commanders by a final score of 30-20 in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford. So here's what I have to say about this one, because this one was kind of funny too. Jets went out to like a 17 or 21-0 lead. The Jamison Crowder like fumbled the weird play there. Everything was going wrong for Washington. They led 27. The Jets then led 27-7 midway through the third. Washington almost pulled a crazy comeback. They scored 3 unanswered touchdowns. They pulled Sam Howell first. First, I should say, they pulled Sam Howell. Then they, for Jacoby Brissett, scored 3 unanswered touchdowns to take a 28-27 lead. Then the Jets scored a field goal at the end to win it. Unbelievable. Couple quick things. Number one, the Jets, even with Rodgers, would not be very good. I mean, if you're barely... I mean, it's a team game, okay? It's a team game. Yes, Aaron Rodgers would have been a major impact for them, and they would have probably been in the playoff race if he would have been healthy this year. However, you have to look at it this way. It's a team game. There's 52 other guys on that roster. The Jets, 52 of those guys couldn't even save them this year. So how can one person, like, change the team? I mean, he is a playmaker, and he is very powerful, and he's talented. However, he's not like some incredible Superman that can, like, fix things real fast. But, yeah, the fact that you're blowing a 20-point lead, regardless of if Aaron Rodgers is in there or not, you have to sit down and ask yourself why you're blowing a 20-point lead. Did Rivera outcoach Salah? Or did Salah just think he had it? I don't know. But this game proves one thing, that both these teams are horrible. Horrible, to say the least. As for Washington, they're a mess right now. Hopefully the new coach and the new GM, should they fire Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew, hopefully they do get a good job, because this city deserves a winning team for sure. They have a lot of draft picks, I know that. So that's a good thing for Washington. And they're close, I mean, yeah. But they have to figure out this quarterback situation. I mean, Sam Howell looked like the guy for the longest time. And now they decide to bench him in favor of Brissett. Yes, a change is needed for a spark. And yes, it is important. And that's the other thing you can look at. The Jets film studied Sam Howell this week in film, not Jacoby Brissett. And they were probably fooled sometimes by Jacoby Brissett because they didn't know what he was going to do because of lack of film. And that's important to think about. That's important to know as well. So that's also, like I just said, very important. But anyway, though, both these teams are missing the playoffs, so it's irrelevant. But the moral of this story is, and the reason for this is, they both have a long way to go before they're somewhat relevant again. And that's both of them. Now on to two more teams that have a long way to go before they're relevant again. One not as long as the other, however, they screwed up and almost blew it too. The Green Bay Packers defeated the Carolina Panthers 33-30 at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, Sunday afternoon. Lots of takeaways on this one. Green Bay's defense is atrocious. Atrocious. I mean, they played well earlier. The way they played against Kansas City, and we'll get to them later, I promise. We'll get to them later, because that's going to be interesting to talk about. But anyway, though, the way they played against Kansas City was great, but ever since then, they've been on, like, this decline. I don't know what's going on. The fact that Green Bay barely beat Carolina shows that this team has talent, but it's still a long way away from being relevant. So, I can't believe Green Bay won this game. The way it transpired, I'm a little shocked. But yeah, good for them. They play Minnesota this week at the Bank, so we'll see how that goes. As for Carolina, yeah, this season's a lost cause. We all knew that, but credit to them for competing and keeping this one close with the Packers. So good job to Carolina. This one's interesting for sure. Joe Flacco is the man now in Cleveland. They used to hate on him when he was with the Ravens. He's taking this team to new heights. Joe Flacco leads the Cleveland Browns to a 36-22 win over the Houston Texans in Houston. This is a big game for a couple of reasons. The Browns pretty much have locked up a playoff spot at this point and are almost certainly going back to the playoffs. This defense, Stefanski's leadership, the coaching staff is amazing there in Cleveland. So coaching makes a big difference. Credit to Cleveland. Congratulations to them. They did a great job. They really did. They've done a great job. They really have. And I'm eager. I'm a Steeler fan, but I'm eager to watch this Browns team in the playoffs. I really am, because I think they have a whole lot more left in the tank. So it could be a long road ahead if you're facing the Browns. But that's all I have to say about that. As for Houston, you guys are talented and all that, but you still guys have ways to go before you're competing for something. So yeah, you guys are 8-7 this year. Good season. And hopefully, if you guys don't get in this year, next year, you guys should be favored to win the NFC or AFC South. That's for sure. Especially with the downfall, it seems like, of the next team and the next game we're going to talk about here. And that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Battle of Florida teams defeating the Jacksonville Jaguars 30-12 in Tampa. There's a couple of quick things I want to say about this one. Number one, Jacksonville's on a skid. Remember last year when they were on this winning skid and it seemed like they could never lose? This year, it's the opposite. They can't win this time of year, and that's a problem for Jacksonville. If you cannot win this time of year, you're screwed, regardless of how good your record is. So it'll be interesting for sure to see what happens in terms of that division, because the Colts and Texans are also very competitive too, so it'll be interesting. But Jacksonville, they're in trouble. They're in a heap load of trouble in more ways than one right now. Tampa Bay, you're on a roll. Good job, Baker Mayfield. Good job, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really do hope you guys win this NFC South division. It's going to be really enjoyable to watch you guys in the playoffs, hopefully. So, all they need is a win in a Chicago win this week, and they wrap up that division. So, definitely good, interesting times in the Windy City. Or, not the Windy City, in Tampa Bay. That is for sure. So, good win for the Bucs. Hopefully, they can keep the SIP moving into the playoffs again, because I think Todd Bowles is doing an incredible job. Got to give him credit. I mean, this year he had no Tom Brady. He got Dave Canales in. made the decision to part with Leftwich, brought Canales in, who turned around Geno Smith. He's done the same thing with Baker. And look at how he's run that offense. It's been amazing. That man deserves a head coaching job, Dave Canales. I mean, he's definitely one of my top choices. So give him a head coaching chance for sure. We're going to move on to some other 4 o'clock games. Why this game was chosen to be at a 4 o'clock spot, I'm guessing it's because of Phoenix time, but I don't know why, because this game was an awful game, and the networks probably knew it would be an awful game. So I don't know why you're putting this at 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve. But thankfully, we didn't have to watch it because of the game of the week was much better, and we'll get to that one next. But for now, we need to real briefly discuss the Chicago Bears defeating the Arizona Cardinals 27-16 in Chicago Sunday, Christmas Eve. The fog was a big factor in this. I remember I was watching NFL Sunday Morning Countdown. I saw the fog. They were sending the fog videos. If you haven't seen those yet, definitely should see them. But yeah, those are definitely interesting, that's for sure. Bears looked good. I mean, they're on the up for sure. They're going to be competitive next year. 6-9. They got the Falcons left and the Packers. They could easily get to 7-10 or 8-9. That would be progress from 3-14, 100%. Next year, it's definitely a contending year for the Bears if they make the right, if Poles makes the right decisions this offseason. They're going to have that #1 pick. That's going to be a big decision for them, and they're going to have to make some decisions again this offseason. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Windy City for sure. And whatever they decide in the Windy City will determine how close this team is to being a playoff team in 2024. Because this team could do it. Here's the thing. And we'll talk about this more in my offseason preview for all 32 teams. If you draft, say, Caleb Williams or Drake May this offseason, you're drafting a new quarterback, and you don't know if they're going to work or not. You know Justin Fields is progressing and improving and could work with a strong offense. Fields can work. If they can get a playmaker on offense like Marvin Harrison Jr., or even a tackle like, say, Joe Alder or Olu-Fasuanu, they can get somebody that could help Fields and continue building this offense. If they decide to tear it all down and trade Fields to get more picks, then you're basically saying that 2024 is not a competitive year. Not many teams with rookie quarterbacks make the playoffs. I'm not going to count. The Panthers aren't this year, obviously. The Texans might. We'll see. The Colts, I'm not going to count them because Richardson's been out a lot of the year. Titans, no. They're not going anywhere. So, yeah. It's hard with the team progressing the way it is. I don't know if I would draft a quarterback. It's not like quarterbacks their most dire need. Yes, Caleb Williams and Drake May are talented. However, they need to ask themselves, do they need a quarterback? So that's what they need to think about if you're the Bears. So yeah, interesting offseason coming in the Windy City. That's all I have to say. As for Arizona, I can't believe Pittsburgh lost to them. This team is not very good at all. They're building and they're moving in the right direction, that's for sure. One more win in these last 2 games. It's going to be tough against 2 good teams in Philly and Seattle, but one more win would prove that, and I think this team could be a competitor in like 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, they got the right leadership in place now, and I think they could definitely turn it around fast. So, just a bad year, just a bad day. So, it is what it is for Cardinals. This one was another thriller. These next 2 games were thrillers. The last 2 games is Sunday, and then we'll get into the Christmas Day games. Those were interesting. So, we'll get into the Christmas Day games last, but let's talk about these 2 first on Sunday. Dolphins walked off the Cowboys 22-20 with a walk-off field goal, and the Dolphins improved to 11-4, have the chance to clinch the AFC East this week with a win or a Bills loss. Cowboys fall to 10-5, back-to-back December losses to the Bills and the Dolphins. The team has struggled on the road, and now they're a game back of Philly in the NFC East. My takeaways from this one are this. Miami is talented. They just need to be at home. And if they can win in Baltimore, that would be huge for them to get that home field and truly take this team down the right direction. That is for sure. So credit to Miami. They have the talent, and they're playing really well right now. So good job for the Dolphins. That's for sure. As for the Cowboys, they're in trouble. I mean, I think the Eagles have a much better situation right now and a much better team, but Cowboys, they look strong early, but I don't know what's going on in Dallas. They need to truly figure out what's going on and fix it. So they got 2 big games at Detroit at home in home finale, and then at the Commanders. So hopefully these 2 games they can fix something and get things straight, because Sunday was not a good day for them, and maybe that'll cost them the division for as much as I know. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure. But credit to Miami, that was a big win, and they played an amazing game. So credit for them. Now on to the NFL Network Holiday Classic. And this game was a classic, and it was also a stunner. The Patriots defeated the Denver Broncos 26-23 in Denver, Colorado, on an upset on a Chad Ryland walk-off field goal. So congratulations to Chad Ryland. Good job by him, that's for sure. Patriots, you stunned the world twice now, 2 times in 3 games. You beat the Steelers. Unfortunately, they beat the Steelers at home to basically put them in a hole for playoffs. And also they beat the Broncos to pretty much eliminate them from the playoffs. Patriots are a strong football team for sure. I mean, they just got unlucky a lot this year. Some of their drafting was the same this year, but yeah, if they draft better in the coming years and truly build around whoever their new quarterback's going to be next year, I think they have a good chance of being competitive again in like 3 or 4 years. So that team won't be down long. Just trust me. As for the Broncos, the never-ending cycle of pain continues. Disappointing for sure if you're a Bronco fan. I get it. I feel your pain. I mean, yeah. I don't think Russell Wilson's the problem, though. I mean, he's played better this year. Sean Payton's done a good job in improving him. You have to remember this is only Sean Payton's first year. Yes, he is a talented coach. Yes, this is an experienced roster. Yes, they are bringing him in to immediately contend. However, only like 6 or maybe even like 4 or 5, 6 or 7. Only a select few of those players are players that he actually drafted. Maybe 5 or 10 of those are free agent signings by him. The other people were just there for him when he came in. He needs to truly put his hands on this lay his hands down on this organization, sign more free agents, make more draft picks and all that. So you can't really blame him for a lot of this stuff. He did not call the best of games, I don't think, on Sunday night. But yeah, that's about it. That's all you can blame him for. So definitely interesting, that is for sure. Now onto the Christmas Day game recap. These were definitely 3 interesting games, that's for sure. There were 3 close games, or the first 2 were close, surprisingly, and the last one wasn't so close, surprisingly, but we'll dive into all of them. I watched all 3 bits and pieces of all 3 of them. They were 3 amazing games, so great job to the NFL for doing it this way. Personally, I don't think they got a lot of hype going into it because of the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Giants and the Eagles, the talent differential and all that, but yet again, the NFL did impress on Christmas Day. I feel like good job by them. That is for sure. Now, let's start in Kansas City where the meltdown of the day happened. The Raiders downed the Chiefs by a final score of 20-14 yesterday afternoon, Christmas Day in Kansas City. The Chiefs are on the decline. Look, Mahomes is frustrated. He does not have really any good receivers except for Rashee Rice. Kelsey's on the decline. He's aging, and I think this relationship might be impacting the team a little bit. He's only caught 1 touchdown since he started appearing at games. And don't get me wrong, Taylor Swift's very good. Her music's very good, and she's a very good person. And they're one of my favorite couples of all time. However, he cannot let her being there. And I don't know if it's so much Travis Kelce. It might be the other people in the organization as well that are allowing her presence to become a potential distraction to the team. Because look at the first couple games. They looked strong. Then they lost to Sean Payton's Broncos horribly. And C wasn't even there. So in a way, you can't blame her. But then they beat the Dolphins, which was impressive. Then the Eagles loss started like this mini collapse. They've only won 1 game in December, and it was by 10 points, luckily, over the Patriots. This team needs help, and they need to get things right, or else it's going to be a long road ahead for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be a quick playoff exit this year. It's always hard to go back-to-back, and I found that in a fantasy league. It's hard to go back-to-back. Kansas City's not going to do it, I don't think. But give them credit for what they had, but things are slowly and steadily starting to fall apart. I think, like I said, they need to think about getting receivers, O-linemen, and also tight end too, because I don't think Kelsey's going to play much longer. He might only have 2 or 3 years left. And especially if things like get serious between him and Taylor Swift to the point like where they're on the verge of marriage or an engagement. C's going to want him to be with her and spend less time on the field playing football. Probably, at some point. Just like Giselle wanted with Tom Brady. So I feel like his decline is starting to occur. Mahomes is supposed to be in the prime of his career. He's 28 years old. You can't say he's declining. They need to get some receivers in the draft. They need to draft an O-lineman, and they need to talk to Kelsey about which kind of tight end, or what his plans are, what his plans are with this relationship, how much longer does he plan to be in the league, and if the time period he's going to be in the league mandates them to draft a tight end, what kind of tight end would he like to mentor that he believes he can make the next great tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs? So I feel like that's a discussion they need to have this offseason, and I think that's a discussion they will have this offseason for sure, because I think Brett Veach wants to get this right, and I think he wants to maximize Andy Reid, because Andy Reid's too getting to a point. You see all the stuff with Belichick right now, like how he might not be the Patriots coach next year. Andy Reid's getting around that same age area too. Yes, the Chiefs have had more success as of late than New England, but yeah, I mean, you're going to have to find a successor at some point for Andy Reid, and it might be during Patrick Mahomes' 10-year contract, because he's only like on year 3 or 4 of that. So they need to do something, and they need to do something now. Because they need to I think this franchise is nearing a crossroads, especially if Denver's going to get better, and especially if the Chargers get a good young offensive mind, and especially if the Raiders improve. More so, Denver is the big threat right now to them. But I definitely think this Chiefs team will be at a crossroads after they lose in the playoffs, and they got to figure things out really fast. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Raiders, though, good win. Congratulations to Antonio Pierce. I think that was a good case for him to get the full-time head coaching position. Hopefully he does. Hopefully the new GM sees that and decides to keep him. This team has been playing much better. They're going to need a miracle to get in the playoffs, though. However, it is still mathematically possible. I definitely think they could get a winning record. They're 7-8. All they have to do is win out. They play the Colts. Then they play Denver. Definitely possible, so we'll see what happens there. So, good win for Vegas, and they showed their potential. Jack Jones, though, he had a nice play, but he was a little bit of a Grinch with that ball. Just wanted to say that. So, yeah. The 4 o'clock game on Christmas Day, always the one I look most forward to. And every week I look most forward to the 4 o'clock game. I just do. I don't know why I don't like night games for some reason. I barely ever watch night games. So, yeah, just wanted to say that. Monday Night Football is good, though. Sunday night and Thursday night, unless it's the Steelers, I typically don't watch it. So, yeah. But the Eagles got the job done 33-25 over the New York Giants yesterday at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Couple quick tidbits on this one. Philly is good, but they're not great. They're nowhere near as good as they were last year. And this was a near disaster against the Giants. You guys were up 20-3, and you almost blew it. They need to fix a lot of things in Philadelphia. I mean, you played against the first stringer in Tommy DeVito, who unfortunately was benched. And Tyrod Taylor, who hasn't seen the field in months, for a touchdown pass to Darius Slayton. It was explosive play. And almost led them to a comeback if it weren't for that interception at the end by Kelly Ringo. Good job to him. Merry Christmas to Kelly Ringo. They need to figure things out fast. They're lucky that they have the schedule they do in the Cardinals and the Giants left. Because if they were playing quality teams, they would be a disaster. So they need to get things right there ASAP if you're the Eagles. Because the playoffs are going to come at you fast. Life comes at you fast. The playoffs are going to come at the Eagles fast if they don't get things right fast. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Giants, you guys did okay this year. I mean, I know you're 5-10. I know you expected more, but good effort in Philly. You guys always do give it your all there, so congratulations to you guys. I mean, I know you guys lost, but it was a heck of a fight, so good job to you guys for sure. Last game, this was arguably the most anticipated game of the season and the most anticipated game of the week, Monday Night Football on Christmas Day. Ravens beat the 49ers 33-19. Lots of takeaways from this one. We're going to start on the Baltimore side because they won the game. Baltimore, you guys are powerful. I mean, Lamar looked great. The defense looked great. You guys just beat a quality football team on the road. That's important in today's NFL. You guys proved you're a good team. And you guys proved that the AFC really stood run for Baltimore. Great effort and a great win by the Ravens. That is for sure. So, good job by them. Zay Flowers looks like the man. He looks like he's on track to be a really good, if not elite, wide receiver in today's NFL. Good job to Zay Flowers. That is for sure. Good job to this whole Baltimore team. They were impressive. So, good job to them. San Francisco, I mean, you guys are still impressive. You guys are still probably going to win the NFC in the regular season and possibly even the postseason with that bye. But you guys need some work. It was probably just a tough night. And I think you guys need to... I mean, Purdy's the guy the rest of this year, but if anything, you guys might need to reevaluate the quarterback market this offseason and possibly go in on Justin Fields if the Bears trade him or Kirk Cousins, because if Brock Purdy's not going to get you over the top this year with that talented roster around him, you might be questioning, and rightfully so, whether he is the guy long-term to get you over the hump. And that's something that the Niners need to think about, that's for sure. I know one bad game didn't influence anything. However, this team blew out Dallas at home. They blew out the Eagles on the road, and yet they lost by multiple scores to Baltimore healthy. Baltimore is the best team in this league right now. There's no doubt about it. Don't look at anything else that happened earlier this year. They're playing like the best team in the league. They are the best team in the league, in my opinion, right now. And they're primed for a big postseason run this year. Harbaugh is not going to let the same thing that happened in 2019-2020 happen again this year. I think it's going to be a big year, a big postseason run for Baltimore, and I think this could end the way they want it to. So, definitely interesting for sure. Crazy how 4 years ago, exactly, in 2019-2020, Ravens were the 1 seed dominating. 49ers were the 1 seed dominating. It is so crazy that exactly 4 years later, the Ravens are dominating and the Niners are dominating. These are the teams that were number one in their conferences when I was a freshman in high school 4 years ago. And now I'm a freshman in college, and they're doing the same exact thing. Time just, it's a small world, and it's crazy sometimes. The game of football has been crazy this year. It's been a really weird season. So, yeah, it's definitely been interesting. Hey, look at it this way, though. 16 games next week. 16 games the following week. There's 32 more NFL regular season games left. Almost every one of them is crucial for either the playoff picture or the draft order for sure. Definitely getting closer to knowing a lot more. We'll definitely know some more in 2 weeks from now. Definitely an interesting one, that's for sure. Just a couple quick notes. On Thursday, I will be doing my NFL predictions for the week. Week 17, that'll be the last prediction so on a Thursday because of Thursday Night Football. This is the last week of that. Tuesday, I'll probably post my NFL Week 17, or Monday, actually. Monday, I'll post my NFL Week 17 recap video. Friday that week, we'll do NFL Week 18 predictions. And then Monday, we'll do the recap video. And then it'll be Fridays and Mondays for the most part, except for Wildcard Weekend. We'll have to do that on a Tuesday because of the Monday night game. But for the most part, it'll be Fridays and Mondays the rest of the year. So definitely interesting times for sure. That's all I got for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday season. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Hope you enjoyed your Christmas, got some cool gifts, ate some good food, spent time with your friends, family, and loved ones, and remember the true meaning of the season, Jesus' birth. That's all I have for you guys again. Once again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a good one, take care, stay safe, pray for Israel, and as always, peace. See you guys around.